My girlfriend told me she was going to brunch with the girls. Simple, harmless, nothing unusual. She even teased me about how I wouldn't like the place anyway, because they only served overpriced mimosas and dainty cakes. And I believed her. Why wouldn't I? We'd been together nearly 3 years, lived together, shared bills, talked about marriage like it was just the next step waiting for us. But that morning, when I walked past the restaurant, something inside me, call it instinct, call it self-preservation, pulled me to stop. I glanced through the glass door and froze. There she was, the woman I thought was mine, not laughing with her girlfriends, but leaning across the table, feeding another man a bite of cake, like they were the only 2 people in the world. I can't even tell you what that did to me. My hand went numb on the door handle. My heart didn't just break. It recoiled, like it was ashamed for ever trusting her. I didn't storm in right away. You'd think I would, right? Make a scene, knock over the table, drag her out. That's what they show you in movies. But real betrayal, it makes you still. It's like the world tilts off its axis, and you're just trying not to fall. I stood there, hand on the door, watching her laugh as she held the fork to his lips, his hand brushing hers like it was the most natural thing. That wasn't brunch. That wasn't innocent. That was intimacy. That was my girlfriend giving pieces of herself to someone else, while lying straight to my face. I stepped back, the glass door reflecting my own pale face back at me. I wanted to vomit. I wanted to scream. But most of all, I wanted to understand how I hadn't seen it sooner. Because if she was bold enough to feed him cake in public, then this wasn't new. This wasn't a one-time slip. This was routine. And suddenly all those late-night texts, the "I'm too tired tonight" excuses, the sudden Saturday morning errands, they all click. I didn't confront her then. Not in that restaurant, not in front of strangers, because she wanted me to stay blind. She wanted me to be the man sitting at home trusting, while she lived another life. And the cruelest thing you can do to someone like that is not to blow up their secret. It's to let them think you still don't know. So I walked away. I walked past the restaurant like I hadn't seen a thing, like my world hadn't just collapsed in broad daylight. That whole day, I replayed the image over and over, her hand brushing his, the way he leaned in, lips parting around the fork like he'd done it before, and her face, God, her face, soft, glowing, a smile I hadn't seen in months. She used to smile like that with me. She used to laugh like that when we were new, when everything was fresh. Now I knew why she'd grown distant. She wasn't mine anymore. Not really. That night she came home humming, shopping bags in her hand. She kissed my cheek, told me she'd had the best time with the girls, and started unpacking candles she said she found at a boutique. I watched her, every movement like a performance, and I wondered how she could look me in the eye and lie so easily. She asked me about my day, and I told her it was fine. I smiled. I even laughed at one of her stupid jokes. And all the while I kept the image of her feeding him cake locked in my chest like a knife I was saving. Over the next few weeks, I became an observer in my own relation. She thought she was clever, thought she was covering her tracks. But once you've seen the truth, you start noticing everything. The way she texted in the bathroom, the new lingerie she bought, but never wore for me, the sudden obsession with her appearance before brunch. And every time she said it was just the girls, I pictured him, waiting, smiling, being fed cake by the woman I thought was mine. I started digging quietly, checked her phone when she slept, her emails when she left her laptop open. She was careful, but not flawless. I found messages innocent enough on the surface, but threaded with undertones. A "can't wait to see you," a "last time was amazing," a calendar invite for brunch that didn't have a single girl's name on it, and then finally the smoking gun, a photo in her hidden folder. Not scandalous, but damning. Her and him, side by side in the restaurant, smiling at the camera, his arm around her shoulders. She was glowing. I should have confronted her right then, should have slammed the phone down and demanded the truth. But something in me had shifted. This wasn't about catching her anymore. This was about ending the performance on my terms. Because if she thought she could humiliate me with lies, then she was about to learn I could play her game better than she ever imagined. So I played dumb. I let her go to brunch again the next weekend. I kissed her goodbye, told her to have fun, and then followed her. Not close enough to be seen, just close enough to know. And sure enough, she walked into that same restaurant, straight into his arms. They didn't even wait for the waiter before she kissed him. Quick, but certain. I snapped a photo from across the street. Proof. Undeniable proof. That night, she came home smelling of wine and frosting, and I asked her how brunch was. She smiled, said, "Oh, just girl talk," and I smiled back, slid my hand into my pocket, where my phone held the photo, and told her, "I'm glad you had fun, because this wasn't the end. No, this was just the beginning." She thought she could keep playing me, but she had no idea I was already rewriting the script. She fed him cake in public and thought I wouldn't see. But I saw, and in part 2, she was going to see exactly what happens when the man she underestimated decides to take the mic. That night, after she came home smelling faintly of champagne and cake, humming some tune like the day had been innocent, I sat in bed staring at the ceiling while she scrolled on her phone beside me. I wasn't even listening to the words she mumbled about the girls, or how she was so full from dessert. I just kept replaying the photo on my phone, the one of her kissing him at the restaurant, clear as day. It sat in my pocket like a secret weapon, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't just about her betrayal. It was about how she thought I'd never catch her. She thought I was blind. She thought she was untouchable, and that arrogant. That's what made me decide exactly how I'd end this. I didn't want a fight behind closed doors. I didn't want her crocodile tears, or half-baked excuses. I wanted the mask to drop in front of people who mattered. I wanted her to feel the sting of being exposed, the way she had humiliated me without even blinking. So I started planning. The first step was patience. I let her go on like nothing was wrong. Let her slip into new dresses she bought with the girls. Let her disappear on Saturdays. Let her sneak off for phone calls with her sister. Each lie she told, each excuse she rehearsed, was another brick in the wall she thought protected her. And all the while, I gathered more photos, more receipts, messages she thought she'd deleted, but were backed up in the cloud. Piece by piece, I was building a case she couldn't wriggle out of. The second step was timing. A confrontation only works if it happens when the liar least expects it. And then fate handed me the perfect opportunity. Her best friend's engagement party. A fancy dinner with family, friends, co-workers, all the people she loved impressing. She begged me to go, said it would mean a lot if I was by her side, and I smiled, kissed her cheek, and said of course, because that night was going to be hers. All right, just not the way she thought. When the night came, she dressed in that red dress I used to love, the one that made heads turn. I watched her twirl in the mirror, adjusting her earrings, smiling like she was the queen of the room already. She slipped her arm through mine as we walked in, radiating confidence, and I thought, enjoy it while it lasts. The restaurant was packed, tables covered in white cloth, champagne flowing, everyone laughing and hugging. She was in her element, introducing me to people like we were the perfect couple, brushing her hand along my arm in rehearsed affection. And then I saw him, sitting at the far table, laughing with his buddies. The man she had been feeding cake, the man she had chosen when she lied about brunch. He saw her too, and for a split second, their eyes locked. Just enough to make my stomach twist. Just enough to tell me this was it. Dinner passed in a blur. Toasts were made, speeches given, glasses clinked, and then the MC asked if anyone wanted to grab the microphone to say a few words for the couple. My heart slowed, not sped up. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. She grabbed my arm, nails digging in, whispering, Don't say anything stupid." I kissed her on the temple, smiled, and walked to the front. "Good evening, everyone," I said into the mic, my voice steady, calm. "First, let's raise a glass to the happy couple. Love like theirs deserves to be celebrated." Everyone clapped, glasses lifted, the room warm and buzzing. She was watching me, smiling tightly, trying to predict where I was going. "But love," I continued, "isn't just about laughter and toasts. It's about honesty, about trust. And tonight, I want to talk about what happens when trust is broken." The room stilled, her face drained of color. "You see," I said, pulling my phone from my pocket, "sometimes we're told stories that aren't true, like how my girlfriend tells me she's just going to brunch with the girl." I tapped the screen. The photo filled the projector behind me. I'd synced it earlier with the restaurant staff, her feeding him cake, smiling, his hand brushing hers. Gasps shot through the room like a wave. My girlfriend shot up from her chair, her hands outstretched. "Stop this," she yelled, but it was too late. Everyone had seen. This isn't just brunch, I said, my voice cutting through the murmurs. This is betrayal. This is humiliation disguised as honesty. This is the person I've shared my life with, feeding another man cake, while telling me she was with her friends. Her friends stared at her, mouths open. Her best friend covered her face. Her parents shifted uncomfortably in their seat, and him, the guy, looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. She ran toward me, tried to grab the phone, but I stepped back. Don't, I said softly, but with a finality that stopped her cold. You told me it was girls' brunch, but it was never about brunch, was it? It was about thinking you'd never get caught. The silence that followed was deafening. No music, no laughter, just the collective realization of what she had done. She broke down, tears streaking her mascara, begging me to stop, to come outside, to talk privately, but I wasn't interested in her tears anymore. Those were for her, not for me. I set the microphone down gently, nodded to the couple whose night I'd hijacked, and said, "Sorry for the interruption. Please, enjoy the rest of your evening." Then I walked out. No shouting, no dramatic exit, just calm steps away from a life that had already ended the moment I saw her feed him that cake. She followed me out, sobbing, grabbing at my jacket. "Please, it didn't mean anything. I swear it was a mistake." I turned to her, finally letting all the cold fury in my chest surface. You don't feed someone cake in public if it doesn't mean anything. You don't lie to someone who loves you and call it a mistake. You made a choice, and now I'm making mine. I got into my car, started the engine, and left her standing there in her red dress, mascara streaking her cheeks, the diamond earrings she'd picked out for herself glittering under the streetlights. That was the last time I saw her. The weeks that followed were heavy. Short nights alone, questions from family and friends, whispers about how brutal that party had been. But I felt lighter too, because I hadn't let her get away with it. I hadn't swallowed the lie. I'd shown everyone exactly who she was, and I walked away with my dignity intact. Sometimes when I pass that restaurant, I still picture her sitting there fork in hand, feeding him cake. But instead of pain, now I feel something else. Clarity. She thought she was playing me. She thought she was too clever, too untouchable. But in the end, all it took was one photo, one moment, and one microphone to show the truth. And if you're wondering if I regret it, if I regret blowing up her world in front of everyone she cared about, let me tell you this: the only thing I regret is not opening that restaurant door sooner.